Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something pretty important today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're tackling paternity and DNA testing in Illinois.
Big topic.
Huge. We've got this legal guide that breaks it all down, and
Yeah, it's
it's fascinating stuff, especially important if you're, dealing with any family law issues in Illinois.
yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't realize how crucial it is. Like, establishing paternity is about way more than just biology.
Right, exactly.
It's about legal rights. It's about financial responsibilities and the emotional well-being of everyone involved. Fathers, mothers, children.
The whole family unit, really.
Yeah.
And that's what this guide emphasizes, right?
Right.
Like how crucial it is to get this stuff sorted out
Yeah.
legally. So let's talk about the why. Why is establishing paternity such a big deal? What are the real-world implications for everyone involved?
Well, for fathers, think of it this way. Establishing paternity secures their legal rights.
Okay.
So we're talking about having a say in those major life decisions
Right.
for their child.
Yeah.
Custody, parenting time, all that.
Right.
Without that legal recognition, it's like they're just, I don't know, operating in this gray area.
Yeah.
It can be so frustrating and disempowering.
Makes total sense. And for mothers, I'm guessing it's about ensuring, financial support for the child, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Establishing paternity clarifies who's responsible for child support, helps provide that financial stability
Yeah.
that every child needs.
And for the child, it's obviously more than just money. I mean, it gives them access to things like what? Health insurance, inheritance rights.
Right.
And probably a clearer understanding of their own family history, too.
Yeah, it's about having a solid foundation,
Yeah,
both legally and emotionally.
definitely. So, big win for everyone involved when paternity is established, for sure. Now, this guide keeps mentioning something called a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, or VAP. What is that?
Okay, so a VAP is basically a way for unmarried parents to establish paternity without having to go through the whole court system.
Okay, sounds straightforward.
Yeah, but there's a catch. Signing a VAP, that has serious legal weight, shouldn't be taken lightly at all.
So it's not just some casual agreement that you can easily back out of?
Not even a little bit. Once it's signed and filed, it's legally binding, like set in stone.
Oh, wow.
There's a 2-year window from the child's birth to challenge it, like through a court-ordered DNA test. But after that, oh man, things get really, really tricky.
Oh, so 2 years and then that's it?
Pretty much. After
Yeah.
that, you have to prove fraud or duress to get it overturned.
Oh, wow.
It would be really difficult.
Yeah, I bet. So signing a VAP, big decision. This guide actually mentions a case, Brighter v. Santoro, to illustrate this point.
Oh, yeah.
What happened there?
Okay, so in Brighter v. Santoro, this guy, he signed a VAP without getting a DNA test first.
Okay.
Years later, he finds out he's not actually the biological father and tries to challenge the VAP.
Oh.
He missed that 2-year window.
No.
So his attempt to challenge it was denied.
Oof, that's a tough lesson to learn.
It is.
So if you're considering a VAP, what's the best course of action?
Honestly, the guide's pro tip is spot on. Talk to an attorney before you sign anything.
Oh.
It's so important because they often give you that VAP right after the child's birth.
Oh, right at the hospital?
Exactly, when you might not be thinking about the long-term legal implications.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Okay, so VAP is big deal, but what if there's uncertainty about paternity in the first place? I mean, that's where DNA testing comes in, right?
Absolutely. DNA testing has basically become the gold standard for confirming biological parentage,
Mm-hmm.
especially when there are disputes.
I bet.
It's incredibly accurate, over 99.9% reliable, and the results, those are admissible in court.
Okay, so super reliable, but as long as the testing is done correctly according to Illinois law.
Right, that's key.
Okay, so how does DNA testing even work? What's the procedure?
Okay, so usually it's pretty simple. They take cheek swabs from the alleged father, the mother, and the child.
Okay.
Then those samples get sent to an accredited lab. That accreditation is really important for the results to hold up in court.
Makes sense.
It's all about maintaining a clear chain of custody.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about cost. DNA testing, how much does it cost in Illinois?
So a private paternity test, that can range from $300 to $500.
Okay.
But a lot of counties in Illinois actually offer testing at a lower cost, often around $150.
Oh, okay. So there are some more affordable options.
Yeah, definitely. And judges can actually adjust the cost responsibility depending on everyone's financial situation.
Hmm.
There's even potential for state assistance.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
If you're worried about costs, talk to an attorney. They can help you explore those options.
Great advice. Okay, so paternity is established. What rights and responsibilities come into play for fathers at that point?
Well, once paternity is established, a father gains certain rights, like being able to petition for custody and parenting time. They can actually participate in decisions about the child's education, healthcare, their overall upbringing.
Right, so it's about having a voice, a presence in their child's life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm guessing those rights come with some responsibilities too, right?
Oh, absolutely. With rights come responsibilities. So
So,
financial support through child support is a big one. Illinois uses the income shares model to calculate child support. They take both parents' incomes into account.
so it's not like a flat fee. It's tailored to each parent's financial situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
And here's a really important point. Even if later on evidence comes out that, disproves biological paternity, especially after a VAP was signed,
Mm-hmm.
those legal and financial obligations, those might still stand.
Oh, wow. So again, back to why it's so important to understand the full implications of a VAP
Right.
before you sign it.
The guide stresses that fathers, they need to act early to establish paternity. It's about protecting their rights and making sure responsibilities are assigned fairly right from the beginning.
Okay, so we've covered VAPs, DNA testing, all the rights and responsibilities that come with established paternity. A lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
So now what? What other, nuances of challenging a VAP should people be aware of?
Well, challenging a VAP outside of that 2-year window, it's a real uphill battle. It is possible, but you need strong evidence to back it up.
Like, what kind of evidence are we talking about here?
You'd need to prove, fraud or duress or a big misunderstanding of the facts when you signed. For example, if someone could prove they were, threatened into signing.
The worst, yeah.
Yeah, or if someone lied about important information, that could be grounds for overturning it.
So basically, you need proof.
Yep. And that's another reason why getting legal advice is so important. An attorney can help you figure out what evidence to gather and how to make your case strong.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot of ground here, establishing paternity, VAPs, DNA testing, and the challenges of challenging a VAP. What's next?
One thing that really struck me about this guide is how much it emphasizes the emotional side of all this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about laws and procedures.
Right.
It's about families and the impact these decisions have on their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been focusing a lot on the legal side, but it's easy to forget that there are, real people behind all this
Yeah.
grappling with, real emotions.
Exactly. Imagine the uncertainty, the anxiety someone might feel
Mm-hmm.
if they're not even sure about their paternity. Or think about the emotional roller coaster of challenging a VAP,
Oh, yeah.
potentially disrupting family dynamics. These are sensitive issues,
Yeah.
and they have far-reaching consequences.
It really emphasizes why having that support system, including legal counsel,
Oh, for sure.
is so important.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So we've talked about the why of establishing paternity, but what about the how?
Yeah, good point.
What are the actual steps involved?
Right. Well, this guide outlines a few different paths, right? We've talked about the VAP, but what if someone wants to establish paternity through the court system?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely an option.
Okay.
If parents aren't married and they just can't agree on paternity, either parent can file what's called a parentage action in court.
Okay.
This often happens when, there's a dispute about who the father is.
So it's like a legal process to actually figure out paternity.
Exactly. The court might order a DNA test
Mm-hmm.
to confirm the biological father, and then they issue orders about custody, visitation, child support.
Okay.
It's more formal,
Right.
but sometimes it's the only way to resolve things fairly.
Yeah, I bet. It sounds like having a lawyer would be pretty crucial in that situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Navigating the court system can be so intimidating,
Hmm.
especially when you're already dealing with all these emotionally charged family matters. A lawyer can help you understand your rights, gather evidence, and actually present your case effectively.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about VAPs, DNA testing, and even going through the court system. But let's say paternity is established, one way or another. What kind of custody rights can fathers expect?
That's a common question. A lot of people think that, Once paternity is established, you automatically get full custody rights.
Yeah.
But it's not that simple.
So just because you're legally the father doesn't mean you automatically get, like, equal parenting time or decision-making authority.
Nope, not at all. Illinois courts, they make these decisions based on what's in the best interests of the child.
Okay.
They'll consider things like the child's age, the relationship between the parents, each parent's ability to provide a stable environment, and even the child's wishes if they're old enough to say what they want.
Wow. So it's a lot more nuanced than some people might think.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this is another area where having a lawyer can be so helpful. An experienced attorney can really help you navigate all the complexities of custody proceedings and advocate for your rights as a father.
So it's about making sure your voice is heard and your relationship with your child is protected.
Exactly.
Okay, we've mentioned child support a few times. Can you break down exactly how that works in Illinois once paternity is established?
Sure. So Illinois uses that income shares model we talked about to calculate child support. This model is designed to make sure both parents contribute financially in proportion to their incomes.
So it's not like a flat fee. It's really tailored to each parent's situation.
Right. The court looks at both parents' incomes, and then they adjust for certain expenses like health care, child care, and they come up with a child support order that's supposed to be fair for everyone.
So the bottom line is it's about making sure the child's financial needs are met,
Right.
regardless of, the parent's relationship status.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that child support orders, they can be modified
What?
if circumstances change, like if someone's income goes up or down significantly, or if the child's needs change.
So it's not set in stone. There's some flexibility.
There is, but any changes have to go through the court.
Yeah.
You can't just decide to change the amount on your own.
Got it. Okay, so we've covered custody, child support, the whole legal side of things. But what about the emotional impact of all this? I know the guide touched upon that a bit.
Yeah, and it's so important. These legal battles, they can be incredibly stressful, emotionally draining for everyone.
Especially for the child caught in the middle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy to forget that children are affected by all of this, even if they're too young to really understand what's going on. It can really shake their sense of security, their well-being. It's crucial to, put their emotional needs first throughout this whole process.
Right. So how can parents, navigate these challenges and minimize that negative impact on their kids?
Well, communication is key.
Yeah.
Keep those lines of communication open with your child, even if it's tough. Let them know that they're loved, they're supported, no matter what's happening between the adults.
Right.
And try to maintain some sense of normalcy and stability as much as you can.
It's about shielding them from the conflict, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And creating that safe and loving environment.
Exactly. And if you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for help. Family therapists, counselors, they can provide so much support and guidance.
Right. It's about putting the child's well-being front and center, which really aligns with what this guide emphasizes.
It does. And, as we wrap up this part, I want to highlight again how valuable this legal guide is.
I agree.
It's full of practical information and, insights, and it's written in a way that's clear and easy to understand.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a resource that can really empower anyone who's dealing with these issues. And you know what? We've got more to unpack, so stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into paternity and DNA testing in Illinois. Feeling like an expert yet?
Almost. But seriously, this legal guide has been so helpful. It really lays everything out in plain English.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I bet our listeners still have some, burning questions.
Oh, for sure.
So let's jump into that Q&A section from the guide and see if we can clear up any lingering doubts. First up, what happens if you just refuse a court-ordered DNA test?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Can you just, ignore a judge's order?
I mean, you could try, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Refusing a court order, that can have serious consequences. Like, the court might just assume paternity based on that refusal alone.
Really?
Yep. Or you could even be held in contempt of court, which comes with its own set of penalties.
Yikes. So not worth the risk.
Not at all.
Okay, next question. We've talked about how challenging a VAP after that 2-year window is super tough. But is it, ever possible?
It is, but you're going to need a really good reason.
Okay.
And solid proof. You'd have to present some pretty convincing evidence to get a court to overturn a VAP.
So what kind of evidence would actually sway a judge?
Think like proof of fraud or duress or like a major misunderstanding of the facts when the VAP was signed. Like If someone could prove they were forced to sign it, or if there was some, I don't know, crucial information that was deliberately withheld,
Hmm.
that could potentially be enough.
So basically document everything just in case.
Exactly. And this is another reason why having a lawyer is so important. They can tell you what kind of evidence you need
Right.
and how to, build a strong case.
Makes sense. All right, last question from the guide. A lot of people wonder, if you establish paternity, does that automatically guarantee you custody rights?
Ah, yeah, that's a
Yep.
big one. A lot of people assume that.
Right.
But establishing paternity just gives you the right to seek custody or parenting time. Doesn't guarantee that you'll actually get it.
So it's not an automatic free pass.
Nope. Illinois courts, they always look at what's in the best interest of the child.
Of course.
That's their top priority.
So they'll consider things like the child's age, the parent's relationship, all that stuff.
Exactly. And they may even ask the child what they want if they're old enough to have a
Mhm.
preference.
So much to consider.
Right.
Well, this has been incredible. Seriously, we've covered so much ground today. VAPs, DNA testing, custody, child support. I feel like we've really unpacked the whole world of paternity in Illinois.
I agree. And, the biggest takeaway for me is just how important it is to be informed. The more you know about your rights, the better equipped you'll be to handle these situations.
Absolutely. To all our listeners out there, if you're dealing with any of these issues, remember, you're not alone.
And this guide is a fantastic place to start.
It really is. And don't forget, talking to a lawyer can make a world of difference.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.